Welcome to the Dropship Podcast, where you'll learn how to build and grow a high-ticket dropshipping business and hear stories from successful e-commerce entrepreneurs. Let's kick this thing off. Hey, welcome to the Dropship Podcast. We are back this week with part 2 of what should you do before going live? Again, you've called suppliers, you've got them on board. If you haven't done that, go back and check out our previous episodes about how to actually get suppliers on board in your high-ticket dropshipping business. Now, we've started the episode last week with part 1 of what should you do before you're going live. This is part 2. This is all taken from an old Patreon episode, patreon.com/dropship podcast, if you want to check out the whole episode or any of our back episodes. So this is part 2 of that. If you missed last week, go listen to last week so you get part 1 of this. And if you want to, again, check out more episodes from our Patreon, go to patreon.com/dropship podcast. But without further ado, let's jump into part 2 of what you should do before going live. I went a little deeper than that, and it's part of a longer, again, perfectionism thing I'm doing. Let me see if it works before I show what I'm doing, because I may have just put a shit ton of work into something that isn't going to work. Basically, we had 20 products that look like one product, and we found a way to basically spin them and take different takes on the benefits in order to make it all unique content where it really all says the same thing. And we'll see, does Google love that? Does Google see right through my my charade here, or whether it works? But I'll let you know in the future what I decided to do there. Basically, we had to write out the same thing, and then we just had to spin it multiple times.
Yeah, and that's what I would do as well. Like if it's a list, if you're just getting a list of features, I will rewrite the features and then I'll add on benefits. And if you want to get really copywriting wank, dimensionalize benefits and stuff like that. Now, I can do that 5 different ways for the same thing because I'm good at writing and I like doing it. But the problem is that most people don't like doing that. So it's once again that thing, like if you can't do it, don't let it stop you from moving forward. Just know that you're going to have to hire somebody to do it for you at some point. And that doesn't necessarily need to be a really expensive thing either, but you do need to do it for sure. You're going to need to do it at some point. Like, yeah, you can't have 10 pages that just have the same basic list of features on it. That ain't going to work in the long term. But once again, if that's going to be every product on your site, then you need to fix it initially. If it's only a handful of products out of the products that you're going to upload on your site, don't let it hold you back, sort of thing. Once again, just get to the point where you're going to launch. If you're more advanced, you've done this multiple times, then you should know how to sort that stuff out before you launch a site. You're probably already going to have a content or a copywriter on your team. Use them to rewrite it. I mean, I don't think that's a waste of time for you doing that. I think that'll work out.
Well, we saw opportunity. You mentioned it earlier.
Sure.
70% of your competitors aren't doing SEO. That's what we noticed right away, right? We were like, wait a minute, we're getting like no information here, and every product looks the same. So then we just started Googling every single product, and we noticed it was more than 70. It was like 95% of the competitors, they had just copied that exact same thing. So it was the 3 same photos on every product and then the bullet points. And I was like, okay, we're going to take our time and do this right. It's going to take all week, but when we get done, this is going to pay massive dividends for us in theory. So I hope I'm right.
Yeah, and going back to what I said, I mean, you see that. I see that a lot as well, that exact same experience with other sites. So even if you just wrote, added 3 to 5 paragraphs ahead of those bullet points, right? Maybe like a few hundred words, right? Not a lot, not crazy amounts of copy or anything like that. Just like some, what might feel like basic stuff that just extrapolates on those dot points a bit further. You're still going to be miles ahead of your competition. And that's all that matters for your customer. And that's all that matters for search engines as well, to be honest. So, yeah, you should totally, when you're wondering about how much work should I be doing here, it can often be quite instructive to go and look at your competitors' pages who are selling the same products. All right?
I think that kind of leads into the next one that I wrote was collections SEO. A little bit goes a long way when it comes to doing any bit of collection SEO just to get started. And certainly I wouldn't build them out to the length I build them out in the beginning if you don't have to. Yeah. But man, a little bit goes a long way over there.
Yeah. once again, a collection page, chuck a few hundred words of copy about the products in the collection and that sort of thing up there. What, just some helpful content for the customer, and that's going to make a big difference too, for sure. I'm like you. I'm a big fan of having content on your collection pages. A question I get a lot is, "Oh, but won't that push the products down further down the page? And won't that be bad for the customer and stuff?" And it's like, dude, totally not. It's good for the customer if you do it right.
I think we'll get in. Right. We're probably going to
have into this.
A fucking 10-point series on on SEO, but like that's one of them, man. Like there's so much opportunity on your collection page, and I do hope we take time at some point and deep dive into that, because there's so much opportunity there. In fact, I'm pulling up one right now for me to show you after the call that I thought was something really cool I saw the other day.
Yeah. Look, but once again, collection pages as well. Like, don't stress too much over them before you launch. Like, they're things that you'll continue to build out over time, right? As well. Like, once again, you can have lots of ideas for them, but do you need to implement all that before you launch a business? No, you don't, in my opinion. Should you continue to work on it post-launch? Absolutely, you should. Build them up. Keep building them up over time, and a few months down the track, you'll have some nice collection pages that are good for SEO and all of that sort of stuff. So, but content on collection pages, for anybody who's wondering, does not hurt your conversion rate.
Not if you do it right. We'll get there. I promise we'll get there. Right. Any of you that are hanging on, at bated breath here, waiting for that, like there's going to be a multi-part episode where John and I just geek out about SEO, because that's where both of us just live and breathe, I think.
Yeah, totally.
All right, real quick on the products. Do you add reviews? Do you do anything with reviews when you start, John?
No, that's a good question. So this is obviously one that a lot of people ask as well. Like, obviously, when you start a site, you don't have your own reviews because you can't. So do you get reviewed? Do you pinch reviews from anywhere else? Do you grab them off Amazon if the product's on Amazon? Do you use them off your suppliers page if they've got them, which sometimes they do? Or do you just downright try and make up fake reviews? Which I've heard people doing, write their own reviews and
I've done it on
their site. Yeah, I think I might have done a few of those, like on my very first business, probably because somebody told me I should. I think
fake emailgenerator.com, man. I've done it many times.
Yeah. I do not do that. I do not do completely fake reviews. Once again, to me, the mindset behind that is you're lying, right? You're lying. You're straight out lying to your customer. It's a lie, right? And if I said to somebody who does that, would you stand in front of me and lie to my face about something? They'd be like, "Oh no, I don't do that." Blah blah. I'd be like, "Well, why are you lying to your customers?" It's a mindset thing. You go down the path of lying to people, it just becomes an ingrained behavior that goes into other parts of your business, right? I think so. I don't do that. If your supplier has reviews about products, sure, I think you can use those. If you can import those onto your site somehow, you can use those because if they're about the product and not the business, then it's the same product. The product hasn't changed, right? Between however else they've sold it and your site, it's still the same product. So the review is still relevant. And I don't think, I don't personally think there's anything wrong with that, with doing that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, if that's not available, I mean, all I will say I definitely won't do is make stuff up. The same thing. You don't lie to your suppliers about. We talked about in the last episode. You don't go to your suppliers and pretend that your site business is live and you've got all this experience when you don't. Same with customers.
I'm genuinely curious how gray you get here. I get pretty gray on this. Like in the beginning, you have no reviews. It's very much a conversion rate optimization. Obvious thing to do is have reviews, right? Like you want to feature reviews, you want to have customer feedback. It's tough to get sales moving when you have none. I'm not going to go use fake mail generator, and I'm not going to just go down to the Yotpo or Judge.me or whatever you guys use. I'm not going to just hop down there and write reviews off the top of my head. That's not going to happen. What I will do, and I'm willing to be super gray here, is first I'll go to the supplier themselves and look for reviews on their website, because I think those are like fair game. That's your supplier. You're working with them. I'll even put at the end of the review, like, space, M-space, courtesy review, courtesy of supplier.com, right? I'll put that. It's not a hyperlink, of course. I don't want to link out to them, but I'll put it in there. I'm genuinely an honest guy, and I don't want to try to not be. Where I'll get a little gray is if I see some on other sites, maybe I'll change the name from Cheryl to Cindy, and maybe I'll take their review and I'll put it into, small SEO tools, content spinner, and I'll spin it just a little bit so that it's not quite the same as somebody else's review, and I'll put it on my site. I will, however, take those down. The moment I get reviews, I will take those down. And I don't start with more than 5. I don't go put 100 reviews on there. But I do think it's important to have some reviews. It's so hard to start a website with literally 0 reviews. So depending on like the shade of gray you are, I would start with your supplier, because those are like super reputable reviews, even on Amazon. Odds are you're going to find a bunch of shitty reviews on there. And I might use some from Amazon as well, because I think those are, at least at this point, maybe not a few years ago, decent reviews, like real reviews rather than fake ones. And that I think the company owns those, even though Amazon might tell you differently. Going and stealing from your competitors might be a different story. But I think you got to start with some, John. Do you start with 0?
I just want to jump in here real quick and say, if you're loving this show, the number one thing you can do to help us right now is to smash that subscribe or follow button and leave us a review. It really does help us to grow this show and reach more people. And you can do it right now while you're listening. And also, if you've got a friend or two that you know should be listening to this show, make sure you share it with them, or just send them to dropshippodcast.com. We'd love to have them join us as well. And real quick, I've got 2 additional dropshipping resources that we would love to share with you. The first is our free dropshipping Facebook group called the Dropship Tribe. It's all about high-ticket dropshipping, and you can learn a ton in there. All you need to do is jump onto Facebook and search the Dropship Tribe, or go to facebook.com/groups/Dropship Tribe and hit the join button. Now, if you're loving the Dropship Podcast and you want more, we actually have a members-only version of this show where we go even deeper into high-ticket dropshipping. We do question and answers with our members, website reviews, teardowns, and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. It's just $5 an episode, which is like a cup of coffee. And as a bonus, you get free access to our entire back catalogue of episodes when you join. So you can binge it without paying a cent. Just head over to patreon.com/dropship podcast. And just as a note, you can find the links to both of those resources below in the show notes. Now let's dive back into the show.
I'm like you. I mean, I'll definitely get them from suppliers if they have them about the product, right? Because like a product review, the product's the same. So it's still a relevant review, and your supplier's not going to mind you using those in most cases anyway. Stealing them off a competitor's website, I think, can be problematic, because most websites will say that UGC is copyrighted to them. So you're infringing copyright usually if you do that. I write that into all of my terms and conditions. Like all of any UGC that my business generates, wherever it is, I own. So if you come and use it off my site, I'm going to do a takedown notice on you straight away. Even for reviews, right? But particularly for image or video reviews, of course. So
I want that language. If you have that available to pull out of your terms and pass along to the audience, I'll take that from you.
Sure, that's easy. It's just a paragraph in your terms. But anyway, I don't take them off other people's websites. I don't know. Like, it's. I mean, obviously, not having reviews in the beginning makes life difficult. I disagree. You can't make sales without them. Can't make sales at the same rate that you will make with lots of reviews, sure, but I still think you can make sales without them. And I'm super proactive with getting reviews once I start making sales, right? So that's like a big focus. So for a site, and once again, this is something I teach people how to do this. Like, you should be getting 60% of purchases leaving a review. So particularly for your first sort of 200 sales, you should turn that into at least 100 reviews, if not more, right? But yeah, I just personally, I don't like to steal people's stuff because it really pisses me off when people steal my stuff. And I don't think the industry needs to be built on the notion that you need to steal other people's shit in order to be successful. Honestly, I like to rely on slightly other things as well to make sales. Like, once again, we go back to talking about the product copy. If I put really great copy on my product pages compared to my competitors, I'm going to sell more like products, regardless of whether I've got reviews or not. If I encourage people to contact my customer service team and get them on the phone, I'm going to close more sales whether I have reviews or not, right? So, yeah, I probably don't get as grey as you, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking back at my history, and I want to be fair. I haven't done my own high ticket dropshipping store in a year and a half, 2 years. I spent time growing businesses rather than building them. Now I'm building again. I'm actually at that inflection point where I need to make this decision. And look, I hope I didn't say you can't make sales, right? Like, of course you can make sales. I do think it's going to be harder. Some of the things you'll run into, like most people just want to grab 5-star reviews. Google's pretty smart. They're not. So I've worked with a company who had enough reviews to get them in their Google PLAs, and they had all 5 stars. And Google was like, "Yeah,"
and Google knocked it back.
Yeah, I bet they were like, "Yeah, that's totally true. I'm sure we'll do this." No, they were like, "No." And so, like, look, man, this is tough because I'm about to make this decision in my business too. I think I'm going to try this time around to stick to only suppliers. Like, deal with the supplier directly, hope they have some reviews on their site. I will credit it in the review. I have no problem doing that. But I want to have a couple of reviews on there, certainly for like the 2-3 best sellers from the brands I'm carrying. I don't think I want to start with 0, although I'm tempted, on this new store we're going to build to fight with each other or whatever you want to call it. I'm tempted to go with 0 and just see what happens. I've never done it. I remember lying on my very first store. I pulled them from everywhere. I didn't care. That was what was told to do in the forums, right? From that course was like, go steal reviews. And so I did it there. Sites after that, I would only take them from the supplier, or I would spin them from Amazon and change names and things like that. So I don't know if I've ever been clean zero reviews and actually seen how that went.
Yeah. Look, for me, it's just, I think for me, it's a bit of just personal preference. Like, I just don't feel good about doing it. And I'm of the belief that if my business doesn't make me feel good, then I don't deserve to be running it. Like, if you have to resort to lying to people to sell products, then you should get the fuck out of town. Really, I don't like it. I think you're not a good person. Plain and simple. If you're that desperate for the cash, then I just don't like it.
I'm with you on that. So where would you draw the line?
You're probably a lazy marketer as well. To be fair, you're like one of those people that goes out and copies somebody else's website to make a buck. Like, it's lazy marketing. Do the work. Do the hard work. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Like, what do you got to make 100 sales tomorrow for? You don't. So what if you make 2 sales in your first month? Doesn't fucking matter. No indicator of success. So I don't know. I think all this ties into like, I've got to put hundreds or thousands of fake reviews on my site. It's like, yeah, it's because you're desperate to make some cash in the next couple of months. But why do you have to? You don't have to, right? Like, just do it right.
So I agree with you on most of that. Where do you draw the line, John? Genuinely curious. Where, like, are you cool with taking from suppliers?
Yeah, I'm cool with that because suppliers provide you marketing materials. Like you can use anything from your suppliers, right? And then they're cool with that, unless they specifically say you can't use our content, which I can't think of working with one that did actually say that. I wouldn't rule it out necessarily, particularly if you've got a supplier that's also selling online. They might be like, have a problem with it. They're not going to be the best supplier in the world anyway, probably, but they exist and people do work with them. But yeah, I don't have a problem with supply stuff if it's about the product. If they've got reviews about their company, I wouldn't use it, right? Because that's not your company, right? But the product, if it's a review that's focused on the product, yes, I'll definitely use the suppliers ones. Right, you're working with your supplier. You're in partnership with your supplier, right? And you're doing them. You're building their business as well. So you should be allowed to use their marketing assets, right? Past that, no, I won't do it.
I would say that's genuinely where I think I'll stop the line this time. I'll use suppliers, and I will if it not a business review, but if it mentions them in the review, I may or may not remove that little part of it, right? Because I don't think it's relevant. But I do want to start with some reviews, so that's where I would start. It's a touchy subject, man. It's a super touchy subject, and I think everybody can decide themselves where do they fall on this line. Where do they are they on one side or the other? I can't talk to anyone's morals but my own, but I genuinely agree with what you have to say on that one, John. Looks like he's got a little visitor in the room now. He stepped away. I think you guys should leave feedback in the group. Where do you stand on this? This is like a moral issue almost. Like we're coming down to, John got up on his high horse there. Was it cold up there on your mountain, or I wasn't sure. You're off the soapbox now, but I'd be curious where people stand on this, because I think in the beginning I was willing to do anything to make a fucking sale and get this going and run away from my pain. And I'm in a different place now. Plus I'm a different person. I talked about this in the last episode. You have to evolve into a better human being in order to go on your journey. And you're going on this long human journey more than you are a marketing journey or an entrepreneurial journey. And so, I'm in a different place now. There's no way I'm going to do some of the things I would do 6 years ago, to get away from the pain I was in. But I'm curious, all of you listening, first off, thanks for all the people that leave all the comments. Go leave some more. Tell us what you think you would do here in this situation on a new store and what you have done in the past.
Yeah. And look, it's totally a moral issue, right? It's totally a moral issue. And on my first business, like I said, I did pinch reviews from other places and did some things that I wouldn't do now, mostly because, like you said, I was told to. That was the message I got from other people that I thought were having more success. And so I did that. And over time, I've evolved to a different position. Like, there is also some stuff out there. There is also some research these days to suggest that for written reviews, there's less trust in them than there used to be. So amongst customers, because this stuff happens. Like, if you've got, customers are looking at you comparing sites all the time. If you've got the same reviews as another site, customers do actually notice that if they're reading the reviews. And if they see the same review on two completely separate businesses, that reduces trust. So if you're talking about the best trust factors, it's actually video reviews, image reviews, things like that. People, like text reviews, I don't think they actually have the impact that they used to have. Like way back, and there is actually some research that's starting to prove that. So that I've read and that I've seen, because people have started to work out that businesses do just copy shit that's not actually their own, and people see the same reviews pop up in multiple places, and I think sometimes it's noticeable. And some businesses just get downright ridiculous with it. Like, I remember I worked with, when I was doing sort of agency services, I worked with some AliExpress dropshippers, right? These like turn and burn dudes, absolute wankers. But they had like a site where it was like 6 months old and they had like 17,000 5-star reviews on it. And it's like it just felt so fake, right? And it's like, I mean, that's an extreme example. And yeah, Google wouldn't let them use those reviews in any ads at all. You couldn't even sync a review feed for them, just because it looks so fake. Even Google knew that.
Thanks for listening to the Dropship Podcast. You can find all the show notes for this episode at dropshippodcast.com. And if you're ready to take the next step in your dropshipping journey, we invite you to join us inside Dropship Breakthrough, where John and I will walk you through step by step in starting your own high-ticket dropshipping e-commerce business. But that's not all. Dropship Breakthrough will also teach you everything you'll need to know to grow your business and take it to the next level. So head over to dropshipbreakthrough.com and sign up for our free training that will help you take the first steps towards building and growing your own profitable high-ticket dropshipping business.